Hey everyone, my name is Josh and welcome back to your fourth stimulus package and news update. In today's video, per usual, we have a lot of news to get into, but first, if you would like to receive 2 free stocks from Webull, valued all the way up to $2,300, make sure to claim them by clicking my link, which you will find in the description box below. Okay, so inflation continues to set record highs as yesterday's year-over-year report in November showed inflation rising by 6.8%. In November alone, inflation increased by 0.8%. Leading the pack on inflation are, unsurprisingly, gas prices at 58%. Then we have rental car prices increasing by 37%, used cars at 31%, hotels at 26%, steak, one of my favorites, at 25%, utility bills, oh no, winter's coming up, those are at 25%, bacon at 21%, pork at 17%, furniture at 12%, fish at 11%, new cars at 11%, chicken at 9%, and also bikes are at 9%, eggs at 8%, coffee at 7.5%, apples at 7%, milk at 7%, flour at 6%, and rent climbing at 3.5%. This recent report, of course, is only giving further ammo to Republicans who say that by passing the Build Back Better bill by Chuck Schumer's Christmas deadline will only worsen the crisis. Here is Republican Representative John Rose saying just that.
Madam Speaker, Tennesseans and Americans throughout the country who are already hurting from higher prices, widespread shortages, and fewer choices believe President Biden's Build Back Better agenda will cause inflation to skyrocket even further. This social spending scam breaks President Biden's zero-cost promise. Contrary to what President Biden and his far-left Democratic allies have consistently maintained, this bill is not fully paid for. In fact, it's not even close. According to the nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office, the CBO, it is expected to add $367 billion to the national debt. That's a massive amount of deficit spending that our children and grandchildren will have to pay back. But it doesn't even begin to tell the whole story. The Democrats used a long list of budgetary gimmicks to artificially lower the CBO scored deficit spending number of $367 billion. The highly respected Wharton School of Business performed their own expert analysis without budget gimmicks, and they found that the actual amount of deficit spending from Biden's socialist Build Back Better legislation will in fact add over $300 billion to the national debt. And Americans all across the country from all walks of life can sense how bad this bill is going to affect our economy and add to our already sky-high inflation rate. Democrats' Build Back Better bill is not just extraordinarily costly, it's also destructive. To put it simply, as radical as this tax and spending spree is, other aspects of this bill are just as bad. While far-left Democrats and Speaker Pelosi proudly revel in the passage of this bill, it is clear they have no connection to the needs and wants of the hardworking Tennesseans who I represent, nor the majority of Americans across the country. As my colleagues and I have covered, the provisions within this bill amount to a wish list of far-left socialist policies that will have devastating consequences on American businesses, households, and families. Thank you, and I yield back.
Yesterday, Senator Lindsey Graham absolutely drilled into the Democrats on new data from the Congressional Budget Office after new data showed that inflation has hit nearly a 40-year high. In particular, he was aiming this presentation at Democratic Senator Joe Manchin, one Democrat they're hoping can jump off the ship, which in turn, of course, kill any chance of this bill passing.
I'm Senator Graham from South Carolina. I'm the ranking member, the lead Republican on the Budget Committee, and we have some news to share with the American people about the true cost of Build Back Better. And what started this conversation was a belief by Senator Manchin and many others about the original score. The original bill was scored at $1.75 trillion in cost, and the way they got that number is they took 17 new programs that would be created by Build Back Better, and they sunsetted the programs 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. If you believe these programs go away after 1, 2, or 3 years, you shouldn't have a driver's license. Ronald Reagan said the closest thing to immortality on earth is a government program. We all know that the child tax credits are not going to go away after a year. But if I'm wrong, I'd like a letter from Senator Schumer in the Democratic conference saying they're okay with these programs terminating in 1 year or 2 years. The reason they put a sunset on the program is to lower the cost. It's a budget gimmick. And here's what Senator Manchin said: "What I see are shell games and budget gimmicks that make the real cost of this so-called $1.7 trillion bill estimated to be twice as high if the programs are extended or made permanent." Joe said that November the 1st, 2021. What did I do? I asked the Congressional Budget Office to give a score on Build Back Better, assuming the programs don't go away, they stay in place for 10 years, which is reality. That is the reality of Washington. These programs will not sunset. They will continue for a 10-year period. And here is what we got.
Graham starts off his speech by showing that Democrats are making it seem like Build Back Better doesn't cost nearly as much by making the programs only last 1 or 2 years. If they were to last 10 years or more, obviously it'll cost taxpayers more money. But of course, like Graham says, the reality is here, these programs won't end up stopping after 1 or 2 years. Instead, they'll continue to get renewed for several years into the future. Let's continue.
Instead of 1.775 trillion, the true cost goes to 4.9 trillion, over twice. If you do away with the budget gimmicks over a 10-year period, the cost of Build Back Better is 4.9 trillion, not 1.75. The effect on the deficit with gimmicks is $365 billion over 10 years. Without gimmicks, the deficit increases to $3 trillion, an 8-fold increase.
Without gimmicks, the total cost of the bill will be $4.9 trillion and the deficit increase will be $3 trillion. That's quite a bit of difference from what we're being told. Graham then goes on to mention the inflation report from Friday and why it'll only get worse if this bill does end up passing.
I am urging the Democratic Party to stop the madness, stop Build Back Better, because Build Back Better is going to be a death blow to our economy. The provisions in the bill would dramatically increase energy cost. And what did we learn today? That inflation today reached a 40-year high, 6.8%. Inflation is the enemy of working people in America. Build Back Better aids and abets the enemy of inflation, will drive that number up higher. There's been a 58% increase in gasoline prices because of inflation. If Build Back Better became law, it would dramatically reduce the ability to extract fossil fuels in America, and it would lead to higher energy cost. Energy costs have increased 33% as an item in the economy. Gasoline alone is at 58% increase. If you're working in South Carolina, making $15 or $20 an hour, this is your worst nightmare. If you got a 5% pay raise today, you're still behind the curve. So Joe Manchin has been wanting to know, without gimmicks, what would the bill cost? We now know it more than doubles.
It's being reported that President Biden is acknowledging the fact that Senator Manchin may not get on board to pass this bill, at least before Christmas, and he plans to meet with the senator at the start of next week. And with many Republicans arguing this bill will only increase inflation, President Biden maintains his stance that the piece of legislation will actually reduce inflation by providing funding for free preschool, lower prescription drug costs, and extend the child tax credit. So, not sure how much convincing Biden will be able to do to get Manchin on board with the plan. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. In some other news, after the Biden administration said they would veto the measure to nullify the vaccine mandate if passed in the House, Republicans are now firing back, calling him out on his mandate flip-flop. Here is Senator Shelley Moore Capito expressing her opposition to the mandate.
To be here with my colleagues, and I would particularly like to thank Senator Braun for bringing this congressional act forward so that we can express what we hear every day from our constituents. I'd like to flash back to a year ago. A year ago, in response to an answer to a question, President Biden, and I believe he was President-elect Biden at the time, when asked about a mandate for the COVID-19 vaccine, said, "No, I don't think it should be mandatory. I wouldn't demand it to be mandatory," he said. And we've seen through the year that he has gone back on his word. I had a telephone town hall last night. The anxiety of people in my state of West Virginia, and I'm sure it's shared with all of our states, over this vaccine mandate is real. It's daunting to families as they're facing higher bills for their gas and their heating. They are very concerned about what this would do to their long-term ability to get a job, keep a job. And I think they realize that this is an invasion into their own abilities to make decisions about themselves in their health care. I'm very pleased that Senator Marshall brought forward how much he passionately believes in the vaccine and the boosters, and I share that. And many of us, if not all of us, every time we have the opportunity, are encouraging folks in our state for their own protection. But that encouraging and requiring are two different things. So if you look at my state, 40% of my state's workforce stands to lose their job under this mandate. Those are manufacturing jobs, those are public service jobs, those are smaller businesses jobs. It's all across the spectrum. And it will be a killer to our economy. But it's bigger than that. It's bigger than killing the economy. It's killing the American spirit of being able to make decisions about yourself, to be respected for that, and to find the best way to find the healthiest reaction to this pandemic. So I would also like to thank Senator Solomon, as I think he makes an excellent point. We were asking people to stay on the job through thick and thin over the last year, and now we're questioning whether they should stay. And the last anecdotal thing I would say is if you look at what some of the federal agencies are doing, they're pushing their vaccine mandates back further and further back. Why is that? Because they're in danger of losing 20 or 30% of their workforce in something such as Border Patrol, TSA, other things that protect us to have a safe environment. So I'm very, very pleased to be joining the effort to try to stop this federal overreach, and I think President Biden should listen to his own words of a year ago. A mandate is not necessary, it's not something he would put into effect, and it's something he does not believe in.
While we're on the topic of vaccine mandates, New York's Governor Kathy Hochul imposed a statewide mask mandate amid the spread of the Omicron COVID variant. This, of course, will require masks to be worn in all indoor public places unless businesses have implemented a vaccine requirement. This mandate will go into effect starting on Monday the 13th of December and will expire on January 15th. Here is the Governor of New York announcing her state, once again, enforcing a mask mandate.
I don't want to go back ever again to that place where people couldn't go to their jobs safely, couldn't congregate, kids couldn't go to schools. That isolation had a devastating effect on the human condition, and we're still dealing with the fallout today. So to avoid that situation, I today am announcing that we are enacting a statewide indoor mask mandate unless a business has a vaccination mandate. Many people in New York City are already dealing with this. Been dealing with it for a while. You've been doing great. And that is why your hospital capacity is good. That's why your vaccination numbers are high. Your infections are not as high as the rest of the state. But the rest of the state now has a wake-up call. I've been warning. I've been saying, if we can't get more people vaccinated or boosted, I have to protect people, but also the economy.
Okay, so in some other news, with there being numerous predictions on when the Social Security Trust Fund could run out of money, many options have been brought to the table. One bill that recently got brought up, the Social Security 2100 Act, if passed, would be the first of its kind in 39 years. On Tuesday of this past week, a House Ways and Means Social Security Subcommittee held a hearing to consider the bill. Here is Democratic Representative John Larson pushing this bill to be passed.
Madam Speaker, I rise this afternoon to use this hour to discuss Social Security 2100, a sacred trust. Or as Martin Luther King would remind us, the fierce urgency of now and Congress's need to act on Social Security. Let me start with the fact that Social Security is the nation's #1 insurance program. The #1 insurance program that some on the other side call an entitlement. There's nothing further from the truth, and this is easily verifiable. All you have to do is look at your pay stub. It says FICA. FICA stands for Federal Insurance Contribution. Whose contribution? Every citizen in the United States who pays into the program. It is an earned benefit and one that has never missed a payment. It is a guarantee, and that's why it's so vitally important to every American citizen. And Congress has been negligent. It has been 50 years since there has been an enhancement to the program. It's been more than 38 years since there was an attempt at solvency. And yet 38 years ago, Congress enacted a cut that will take place this January. The time to act is now. No more procrastination. So for all of our C-SPAN listeners, make sure that you contact your member of Congress in both houses. We are pleased that 200+ people are original co-sponsors of the bill, and you'll hear from some of them today. And we've taken the liberty of pointing out to every member of Congress how many people in your district receive Social Security benefits and what that brings into your district on a monthly basis. I assure you, there is no more greater economic development plan for your district than what happens on a monthly basis to those who need it most. Let me reiterate again, Social Security is the #1 anti-poverty program for the elderly and the #1 anti-poverty program for children.
At the moment, the bill currently has 195 co-sponsors, all being Democrats. To ensure that a bill like this one passes, they would need to gain at least 10 Republicans in the Senate, as they would need to get at least 60 votes to get it through the Senate. But on that note, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this video. Again, if you would like to receive a couple free stocks from Webull, make sure to quickly claim them by clicking my link in the description box below. To receive the first free stock, you will need to fully open an account. Then, to receive the second free stock, which will be valued up to $2,000, you'll need to make a qualifying deposit of at least $5. And even if you aren't all that interested in investing or continuing to invest at this point in time, you can always sell the free stocks you receive and transfer that money, however much they're worth, right back to your bank account. So free stocks or free money is completely up to you. So once again, I hope that everyone has a great and safe rest of their day. If you did enjoy the content in today's video and you found it helpful, I would greatly appreciate it if you would give this video a like, a big thumbs up. That does just help out with the YouTube algorithm. And until next time, as always, I'll see you in the next video.